I want to bring in Cristian Martini joining us from Osaka. He's a journalist who's joining us live here on India Today. Not looking good for Mr. Shinzo Abe right now, Cristian. What's the information you've been able to pick up? We understand he was at a rally when he was shot at twice.
Yes, apparently he's been aimed at from the back with a shotgun, and so somebody was aiming on his heart, apparently. And from what I know, he's already in cardiovascular arrest. Some sources are saying that its actual chance for survival are actually very low. This is what we know by now. Now that some other people are saying that the shots actually aimed at his neck, but we don't know that. But this time he's been taken by helicopter to the hospital. Probably, I assume the nearest hospital would be Osaka, or I don't know if I will make it all the way to Tokyo.
Okay, Cristian, you know, the condition at this point, as far as Shinzo Abe's condition is concerned, what we're hearing is, unfortunately, that he's not shown any vital signs after the attack, and those images also not looking good, because you see Abe immediately collapsed after that attack. We understand this happened at a rally. There was a crowd around him, and the suspect has also been taken into custody.
Well, I suppose because of the imminent elections, that he was giving a speech. And well, it's very usual. I mean, especially these days, if you go anywhere in Japan, you just happen to hear this. I was just the other day in Kyoto, which is very near Nara, and then right in front of the station, you got this huge crowd gathered because there were some politicians making a speech, which is just really normal before the elections year, and this happens usually before in front of the train stations, the major train stations. So it's really just really normal. And then people just stand there, and usually there are some sort of, not even guards, but like some short fences there are, and between the politicians and the people who are there listening. But again, if it's a shotgun, the fences won't do any good.
You know, this is something, what you're telling us is that this kind of a rally, it's very common for something like this to happen, these rallies in the middle of the road, which means that this kind of an attack is completely unheard of, Cristian, in Japan.
Ridiculous. I mean, we have to go back to the 20s when prime ministers were shot one after the other, were assassinated one after the other. But things like this, and it's just unheard of in Japan. And just this will take a toll already on the public, because people is gonna go asking what happened. It just out of the blue. Nobody would expect anything like this to happen, especially with a shotgun. You know, you would expect something like a knife attack, which is something that usually happens in Japan, which is actually happens more often than you know we would like to. Even though, again, like the crime rate, it's incredibly low, but to be use the shotgun, it's just preposterous. Like there are extremist groups, of course. Abe has been really at the center of the media, especially when he was in charge, when he was prime minister. He's always been portrayed as this far right extremist. For some things, of course, you can say that, but anyway, he had a really bad image of this fanatic or extremist, which for other things, if you look at what went on with Russia, actually, with the for example, he wanted to get back the islands from the Oporiodo, the northern territories from Putin, so he was trying to get friend with Putin. So his tactic was more like, let's be friend with him to get something back, which of course it didn't work out anymore, because then when Russia went to invade Ukraine, that was all off the table. But again, Abe was also a guy who was trying to reach out to on some middle ground to get something done, which actually after him, the other prime minister didn't seem to be able to do anything.
You know, I can imagine how shocked every Japanese must be if you're watching what's happening right now. And those images that we're putting out on our screens currently, moments after the shooting, Shinzo Abe's security swooping in and carrying him as he collapsed on the ground. Any comment, any communication, Cristian, that's coming from the government so far?
No, not that I've heard of, no. But the way it works here, especially Japanese politicians, they would have to concoct some very well thought of statement before going on public. You know, that nobody would even dare to have a comment anything like this before carefully thinking about it. Again, this is a one century time like event. I mean, there's never happened in the modern history of Japan something like this, and especially somebody like again, the longest standing prime minister in history, modern Japanese history, and just on the middle of the street with a shotgun. Somebody's going to comment on this. That will take some time and really take a careful look. Also, you know, they probably want to know what happened, who did this. So before any comment, actual comment, you know, will come out.
You know, from what you're telling us, Cristian, the fact that, you know, the suspect here used a shotgun, this clearly can be called an assassination attempt. It was an attempt to assassinate Shinzo Abe.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yes, for sure it was. And if it was a shotgun, I mean, this is my guess, because usually when you have these attacks by knife, they usually call it these people in a disparaging way, like there are these crazy people on the streets. It's an actual word in Japanese, you know, crazy people on the streets. Well, it wouldn't be a crazy guy if he has a shotgun and then just, you know, calculated all this in a way that it could be done. I mean, it's not like this is US. I'm sorry to say this. It's like, you know, you can't just go out with a shotgun or in Japan and be unnoticed. You have to hide it. You have to. I mean, this is a well thought out thing, you know. So it was for sure the intent was assassination. That's bottom line. There's no ambiguity on that for sure.
Yeah, and it's clear that this was an attack that was planned, that was plotted against the former Prime Minister. As we're, of course, going to track every update that comes in on his condition, it's not looking good because the information we're picking up from local media, unfortunately, is that he's not showing any vital signs. He collapsed soon after he was shot at twice from behind. He was shot at in the chest. And as Cristian also tells us there, he suffered a cardiac arrest. So let's hope and pray really for the best right now. But explain to us also, it may be a bit too premature right now, Cristian, to also discuss the motive for this kind of a crime. To understand really Japanese politics and why Shinzo Abe would be targeted like this during a rally. He's deemed largely as a conservative politician, yes?
Well, yes. I mean, it's deemed as a conservative, but again, like by the media, but the general media, like has always been portrayed as an extremist. So that's why we have now the latest prime ministers that didn't seem up to really you know, be able to get any useful politics on to go. And Abe himself, I mean, he of course, you know, one of the most criticism is because of all the scandals that happened and that connected him with the right-wing groups, which he belongs to, with many other party affiliates of his own party. And but again, this is a long-standing tradition in the party itself, so it's not anything specific to Abe. But what's specific to him, of course, there are the scandals that involved him. For sure, one of them was the big scandal concerning a friend of his, a wife who has been the beneficiary of a land deal that was very profitable for him, and again, these are all considered to be right-wing associations, right-wing people, and again, this is the image he was always being portrayed in the public. So, who has an interest to shoot a far-right politician? I don't know. I will let that the people to judge. I couldn't speculate farther from now on.